Welcome back to Fifth Block Sports. Today is December 9th, 2022. Guess what? You're listening to episode 3. We're getting things rolling. First things first, we got to recap last week's pick'em. Myself, 500 at 7-7. Jalen, a tough week at 5-9. Had some upsets there. Late game heroics from some teams kind of caused your record to sit where it's at. And Ashton, last week's winner at 8-6, 2 games above 500. That brings our totals. Ashton's in first place with a 16-7 record. I find myself in second place with a 15-8 record, and Jalen's 1 game above 500 with a 12-11 record. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. I'm going to run through that recap real quick. So our rundown today, we have Thursday night football recap. We're going to talk college football. Playoffs are set. Bowl games are set. We'll have an NFL breakdown. We'll really dive into the Chiefs game, and then we'll have our pick'em as well. We'll also have a special guest today. Chicozy's joining us for the first time. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name's Chicozy. Big fan of football. You know what I'm saying? Play for Oak Park.
There we go. So he's joining us today. Hopefully we get him back in the future as well. Let's jump right in. We have Thursday night football last night. We had the Rams at the Raiders. That game ended, the Raiders at the Rams. That game ended Rams 17, Raiders 16 in the last minute heroics of Baker Mayfield. A couple notes I had. The Raiders looked like they controlled this game throughout. I felt like they were in control. Baker got thrown in there. He comes in on Tuesday to LA. They play him Thursday. Usually you don't see that. Baker talked about he's been in a lot of systems. He's been around different guys. So I think that helped him in being able to play last night. But again, through 3 quarters, I felt like their offense was very basic. They let Baker kind of do his thing, and it ended up working out for him. But like I said, I felt like the Raiders were in control all night. Josh Jacobs, they held him to 90-something yards on probably about 25, 26 carries. So an okay performance from Josh Jacobs. It looks like the Raiders are going to win this game. They punt the ball. Late in that game, it lands on the 20 and then ends up rolling to the 2-yard line. So you're asking a quarterback that came in 2 days ago to go 98 yards and pull together this game-winning drive, and somehow Baker Mayfield's able to do it. I'm not a big Baker guy. I think he's a perfect college quarterback. I didn't see him kind of excelling in the NFL. Is this kind of a revival of his career, or is it just kind of that magic that you see from time to time with a guy coming into a new system and able to pull off a win?
I feel like me and Ashton was talking about earlier, I feel like Baker Mayfield really fits in with the Rams. I mean, he didn't really have a bad night yesterday. He went for 230, threw for 230, 1 touchdown. I feel like Derek Carr really had a big problem, 137 yards, 2 interceptions. Critical loss for the Raiders because they could have got right back into the playoffs.
I was going to say, they were in the playoff hunt with a win there, and that's detrimental for their season.
That one-hand catch by Devontae, though, that was a great catch for him.
He continues to ball out on those deep balls. I think that's kind of been their go-to. We've got ATM Money 3 stars of the game. Ashton, what do you got for us?
So for the first star, 3 stars is going to be the player of the game. For the first star, I'm going to go with Davante Adams. As Jalen just said, he had a great catch. And I think I'm going to not just go off based off stats. I'm going to go like how he was playing, and Jalen was too. We watched the Prime Vision Next Gen Stats where you can get the all 22.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watched, I was really paying attention because it's Davante Adams and Jalen Ramsey. I was really paying attention to it. And even when Carr wasn't throwing to him, Davante cooked him basically every single time.
He got open. Yeah.
He was always getting open, and there was actually a play. I can't remember when it was. It was like the third or the second. Davante, he was wide open, but Derek he threw it under. But if he would have got it, he might have got a touchdown. Mm-hmm. For my second star, another Raiders player, I'm gonna go with Max Crosby. He was amazing yesterday. He made some great plays. He had a great tackle, I believe it was early on Cam Akers, I believe. He was disruptive all night. He did Max Crosby's thing. He's maybe an underrated player, maybe for defensive player of the year. I wouldn't say that, but I would say you definitely can make a case.
Crosby's an interesting case too. when you talk about the Raiders, they have that culture, they have that kind of stigma that goes with the Raiders, and I think Max Crosby is the definition of what an Oakland Raider or a Las Vegas Raider looks like.
I feel like he brings the energy to that team.
He does. He plays hard. You rarely see him take a play off.
Mm-hmm.
I know they ended up losing, but he did have that big sack on that last drive. It kind of what I thought put the game away, and then Baker somehow is able to kind of regroup and drive down the field. Chicozy, what did you see from last night? Any notes? Any takeaways?
You were just talking about Baker Mayfield. Like you say, like he's not really that guy, but you gotta look at Derek Carr. I mean, Derek Carr had 2 interceptions. Baker Mayfield had 0. So I'm just saying, but in my opinion, Derek Carr is still better, but I think he just had a bad game.
Oh yeah, and then for my third star, it was Baker. He played. I think he played pretty well for the circumstances. So yeah, I think Baker was the man of the game. That was a great final drive.
Yeah, and I think taking everything into account, like you said, I mean, he got into LA Tuesday night and then turned around and played a Thursday night football game in the NFL. I watched a little bit of, or heard a little bit about the post-game interviews, and they were talking about, how are you able to do this? And Baker said, I credit the offensive line a lot. They were making the reads. They were calling out anything that needed to be changed. So they kind of took that off his plate and kind of let Baker just do Baker things, and it ended up in a win. I just don't know how you play man coverage down there when you know the other team has to score a touchdown to win. Why are you not playing zone and making him, find a guy open rather than giving an opportunity for a one-on-one ball, which ended up, being the difference in the game?
So I got a question for y'all. Do y'all see Baker Mayfield staying in, or do y'all see Matthew Stafford coming back in?
I think with the Rams season, how it is, what they're 4-9 right now,
Mm-hmm.
I think we see Baker for the rest of the year. There's no rush. I mean,
But didn't Matthew Stafford just get that big contract?
He did, and I think just knowing that the Rams are kind of out of playoff contention, I don't think they want to risk Matthew Stafford coming back in and getting re-injured. I think because his injury's been a little odd. It hasn't been clear and cut what he's dealing with. So at that standpoint, I think you cut your losses for the season. You have Baker. You let him play the rest of the year, knowing Matt Stafford's your quarterback, kind of moving forward.
I would say. I think the problem if you don't play Matt all year, I feel like he's going to retire in the offseason if you don't play him. So if you want to maybe keep him, I would say play him. Because, has he really... I guess if Baker... I don't want to overreact because it is just one game. And I feel like that's the same thing kind of like with Brock Purdy, who we'll get into.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to overreact because it is one game. Kind of the same thing with Mike White. It was a one-game thing against the Bears, and then he kind of sold it against the...
Yep, fizzled out.
I mean, he didn't have a bad game, Mike.
But I feel like he had some bad throws. I mean, again, we talked about the Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, so that is our recap of Thursday Night Football. Again, that was Rams 17, Raiders 16. Baker Mayfield ending up earning those 3 stars from our ATM star picks.
I would say, I know we're mid, but I think we should work our way up to the playoffs. We should do all the other bowl games and the
bowl games and then go
playoffs.
All right, we're going to jump back to college football. And as you've heard, we're going to start with our bowl games, and then we're going to wrap up with our college football playoff. So we're going to do quick picks of these bowl games. I'm just going to run down a list. We'll go in order. So we'll have Jalen's pick, then Ashton, then Chicozy's pick. I'll say the name of the bowl, the 2 teams, and then just real quick, give me a team name, and we'll fire these off. First off, the Gasparilla Bowl, Mizzou versus Wake Forest.
I got Mizzou in that one.
I'm going to go
Mizzou.
Mizzou takes a sweep. I have the Tigers as well. Next one, Liberty Bowl, Arkansas versus Kansas. Interesting one here, Jalen.
I got Kansas.
Arkansas.
I got Arkansas. Kansas, start off the year winning 5 games, and then who knows what happened after that. I've got Arkansas. Next one, Holiday Bowl, Oregon versus North Carolina. Jalen, who do you got?
I go Oregon.
I'm going to go with North Carolina because I don't know how many players of the starting core of Oregon's going to play. I saw Christian Gonzalez is not going to play, so I'm going to go with North Carolina.
I'm going Oregon.
I think I'm going to go North Carolina as well. I think a lot of Oregon players might end up sitting out. Texas Bowl, Texas Tech versus Ole Miss. Another kind of who's going to play, who's not going to play. Jalen, who you got?
Ole Miss.
I'm going to go Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
SEC sweep. I'm going to go Ole Miss as well. Alamo Bowl, Washington versus Texas. Jalen, who you got?
Texas.
I'm gonna go Washington.
Texas.
You know, I think I'm going to go Washington, too. I think their quarterback's feisty. I know
I'm
Texas.
gonna change my pick. I might go Washington.
Ooh, we got him to flip. There we go.
Michael Penix is playing.
He's
so.
playing. He's a feisty, kind of fiery dude. I'm going to take Washington in that one. Next one, we have the Orange Bowl. Truly an Orange Bowl. We have Tennessee versus Clemson. Jalen, who you got?
I got Tennessee.
I got Clemson because Hendon Hooker's not playing.
I got Clemson.
You know what? I'm going to take Tennessee. There's a lot of questions. Who's the quarterback for Clemson? And you know what? I'm taking Tennessee.
Cade, he's the guy.
Yeah, he is. He played well last week. Next up, we have the Sun Bowl. UCLA versus Pitt.
I'm gonna take UCLA on this one.
I'll take UCLA.
UCLA.
I'm going to go Pitt. Pitt run game is going to somehow figure this thing out. They do give up a lot of points. I think there's going to be high scoring, but something fluky is going to happen in this game. I got Pitt. The Sugar Bowl. This one will be interesting. We have K-State versus Alabama. Jalen, who you got?
I'm gonna go K-State. I feel like if you can stop the Alabama's offense, then I feel like you can win that game.
I'm gonna go with the best team in the nation, K-State.
K-State.
You know, looking at all the transfer portal news and everything, I think I got K-State as well. I think Alabama's in shambles right now. They're losing guys left and right. Who's going to play? Who's not going to play? I think K-State's a more rounded team and is more invested, and I think they're treating this as a national championship game. They get to go up against a big dog like Alabama, and I think they're going to come out victorious. So I have K-State.
Beat LSU last year, beat Alabama this year.
There we go. And then the last one for our Bulls before we talk about college football playoff, we have USC and Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. Jalen, who you got?
I got USC, even though they came off a loss against, I think it was Utah or Utah State.
Utah.
But I say USC.
I say USC.
USC.
I'm going to take USC as well. I don't know the health of Caleb Williams. I know he's dealing with a hamstring, but I think the Trojans are just too athletic for a Tulane team. So that is our bowl pick'em. You know, we just handpicked a couple of bowls that we want to go over. Let's jump into the college football playoff. Chicozy, I'm going to start with you here. We've got a 1 versus 4 matchup in Georgia versus Ohio State. Is there an upset brewing, or are the Dogs going to find themselves back in the national championship?
The Dogs are going to find themselves back in the national championship.
You think that just defense is too overpowering for an Ohio State team?
The defense is really good.
I think this is definitely going to be the best game of the playoff. I think Ohio State's wide receiver core, they're going to have some time to get it back on track. They were struggling a lot, but they're going to have time to get it back. Maybe kind of like Georgia. It was a wake-up call against Alabama when they lost in the conference championship. So maybe they get it back. But I'm going to go with Georgia, but I just think that Ohio State, they still have that great wide receiver group. I don't know about Jackson Smith-Njigba. I don't know if he's going to play or not. He might, I guess. But I think I'm going to go Georgia still.
Yeah, I'm going to go Georgia. Like Ashton was saying, if Ohio State, if they could play like how they played at the beginning of the season, I feel like they could come out and win it. But that Georgia defense is just top tier, so I got Georgia in this one.
I'm going to go with Georgia as well. I think this could be an interesting game. I think Ohio State has the opportunity to make it interesting and has the opportunity to kind of turn some heads. But the way they performed against Michigan and how they ended that game, I just don't see it going much different facing that Georgia team. Our second matchup, the 2-3 matchup, we have Michigan and TCU. I think this one's going to be a lot closer than some people think. We'll go work around this way. So, Jalen, who do you have for Michigan, TCU?
I got Michigan because I feel like TCU defense, they let up too much points. So, I'm going to take Michigan in this one.
Kind of what Jalen's saying. TCU let up too much points. Michigan's got too much firepower. I'm going with Michigan.
I'm going to go Michigan, but then again, TCU, I feel like they're going to come back strong, but then again, I'm going Michigan.
TCU can definitely do it. Max Duggan's he's gonna have to play like a Heisman winner if he wants to win it.
And that was what I was going to go off of is I can see TCU pulling off this upset. I don't even know how much of an upset you want to call it, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. Michigan wins, I would say, okay. TCU wins, I'd also say, be content, be like, okay. Obviously, TCU and Max Duggan's going to have to play well, but I think to Jalen's points, they let up a lot of points on defense. And with Michigan's run game, if they control the clock, control the tempo of the game. I think that they come out victorious. So it looks like we're leaning here a Georgia versus Michigan rematch from last year, if I'm not mistaken, in the semifinals. Yes. So if that ends up being our national championship, we have Georgia, Michigan. Who are you riding with and why?
I'm gonna take Georgia because I feel like if you lean on their defense, I feel like they can stop Michigan because their defense is like top tier. So I'm gonna lean to Georgia.
I'm gonna say Georgia. I just don't know how much Michigan's ready. I just like team wise, I don't know how much they're ready for it. I just think Georgia, they're just, I don't know, they're kind of becoming Alabama.
They're a complete team. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I do have some questions on offense.
I'm gonna go Georgia because that defense is just incredible. That team chemistry is incredible, and that defense is gonna carry the game in my opinion.
I'm gonna agree with all three of you guys. I think Georgia, like most of you said, is a complete team, and I think they're figuring it out. And they're a team that kind of finds ways to win. You know, it hasn't been pretty all year, but they found ways to win. Whether that's their defense showing out, their offense has looked productive at times, so we know they're capable of that, and I just think it's too much for whoever they play, whether it's TCU or Michigan. I think they should handle either one of those teams pretty fairly, so it looks like we'll have another Dogs repeat.
I think it's funny we're saying Georgia, but like Ohio State can easily knock them out first round.
And, as I was saying that, I was like, they could. They really could. I think for Ohio State, it'll have to be a shootout for them to win. And they'll have to kind of crack that code of the defense.
They got the bullets. They got the bullets.
They do. They do have those dudes that can put up points in a hurry. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
I say Ohio State and Georgia could be a high scoring game.
I think it's going to be the game of the playoff.
Yep. I think so too. I think in what we've seen, I think for the past couple of years is there's that one standout game that really is a game, and then the other ones seem to kind of not flow as well as Gracie is back here getting caught up in I don't even know what you want to call that, a wire shelf. Almost had to send her to the hospital. She almost caught her forehead on a wire shelf back here. So again, we do have our peanut gallery here with us today. So if you hear some background noise, they're just hanging out with us, having a good time. So that kind of wraps up our college football. We have our playoff set, and once those games happen, I'm sure we'll discuss a lot about what happened and how we view those games. So let's jump on to NFL. Like every week, we're going to have our breakdown of the Chiefs game. We had Chiefs at Bengals. I'll kind of start with some notes and then let you guys feed off those. It kind of seems like the Bengals may have the Chiefs figured out. I think matchup-wise and scheme-wise, they just do things a little differently that give the Chiefs some fits. And it was on display last Sunday. My other note is, why was this game not flexed as Sunday Night Football? I know you have to do it 2 weeks in advance, but schedule makers, come on. You're looking at Dallas and Indianapolis on a Sunday night game when Dallas is rolling. Indy has a center as their head coach right now who, is a rah-rah guy, but you still got Matt Ryan at quarterback. Mm-hmm. How is this game not flexed for the whole country to see? I know, as Chiefs fans, I'm kind of all right with it because we're not getting embarrassed on national television. But yet, it was a great game all in all. My notes was I believe we should have gone for it on fourth down instead of, trying to kick the field goal. And, that's easy to say when Butker misses that one. Had he made it, it's a tie game. We put our defense back on the field who hasn't been able to stop Joe Burrow all game. So either way, I think we go for it on fourth down. Try to keep the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands. You have one of the best, if not the best quarterback right now in the NFL. I think you live and die with the ball in his hand. We saw it in the Bills game. We try to make a play at the end, and Mahomes throws an interception. I think if that's different and Butker misses a field goal to win it against the Bills, everyone's out for Butker's throat. Mahomes throws the interception there, and, all of Kansas City, I think, was just like, well, that's going to happen from time to time. So, I think we should have gone for it there. I was actually talking to Coach Whitehead, and he heard that the flu bug was going around the Chiefs locker room last week, and I have seen multiple reports that a lot of our guys were under the weather, which then going back and looking at some game film, it does look like we kind of lack that next level energy and that spark. So, I hate to make excuses, and I don't want to use it as an excuse, but things did seem a little off all game. But I think it goes back again. I think the Bengals just have the Chiefs number right now. They treat it as kind of their Super Bowl is what I feel like. They create that rivalry, which is great. I love creating rivalries and with different teams. What are your guys' takeaways? I'll start with Jalen. We'll just kind of work around. What do you guys have in that one?
I'd say we kind of sort of possession. I think it was 24-21. We had the ball, and I think when Mahomes threw a pass to Travis Kelce and he fumbled, I think that's really what turned the game around. That giving them that possession, and then went to go score. We had to play behind because it was like 4 minutes left when we got the ball.
Yep.
And I feel like I saw one play. It was like the 3rd and 3 where Mahomes got sacked. I don't think he looked left once. It was Jerry McKinney. He was on a
he was
flat
leaking
route.
out, yeah.
He was on a flat route. He was wide open and Mahomes missed him. I feel like that's where Mahomes he kind of mess up. He don't look like to the running back. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if he start doing that more, he can.
And the Kelce fumble, it's hard. You can't knock a player for fighting for extra yards. Sometimes you just got to take that with a grain of salt. That's going to happen. He's been phenomenal all year, and say we do hold on to that one and drive down, all of a sudden we're up 10. So I do agree that was kind of the changing point in that game. And those plays happen. I don't fault Kelce much. I mean, he's just fighting for extra yards, and the ball gets punched out.
But I feel like we could have that drive. I feel like we was going down and scoring. That's what I was thinking.
I think we would have scored too. And I know we were talking about going in on 4th down. Looking at the stats here, we were 2 for 2 on 4th down. Whenever we went for it, we were perfect on 4th down.
Yeah, go for it. Why not?
Mm-hmm. And also another thing, I was so questioned about. We wasted all our timeouts before the 2-minute warning. Like, why did we do that? We wasted all of our timeouts before the 2-minute warning. Like, even if we would have got the ball back, we would have not had any timeouts. Like, why? I don't know why we wasted all the timeouts.
Which is very rare to see from Andy Reid. Kind of wasting those, and he's a great in-game manager. And I think that one just maybe the moment got bigger for him than he anticipated, and kind of was forced to burn those. But I agree. I think we used him too early, which led to kind of, and Joe Burrow made a great throw at the end. I can't knock him for that. We were on him. I believe he got hit as he threw, and still, was it T. Higgins? Made that unbelievable catch. I mean, our coverage was there. I couldn't ask for anything more. It was just a great throw, great completion. Chicozy, what do you got out of the Chiefs game? Any notes, any takeaways?
Once again, Jamar Chase, he had the most receptions on the Bengals.
I mean, can we just put 2 guys on him and just make somebody else beat us?
The Chiefs' defense needs to get it figured out, honestly. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco, he was doing his thing. He's running hard. I mean, they just need to get it figured out. Defense needs to get it figured out.
I think, talking about defense and stuff, I think we need to have Jalen suit up and go play tackle for us. Because we are,
there we go.
I was watching one of the podcasts that I watch, and they were saying Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown are the top 2 in most pressures in football, and they play for us, which is just crazy.
And those stats become more glaring as we get into playoff football, and we saw it in the Super Bowl. With was it Schwartz that went out with the injury? Mm-hmm. He went out. Our line was beat up, and the Buccaneers kind of feasted in our backfield all game. And that was, I think, the deciding factor of that Super Bowl was Mahomes having to scramble every play because we couldn't provide protection.
I think that was what was happening Sunday, because Orlando Brown, I think he was on Trey Henderson. I think he couldn't hold his ground against Trey Henderson, so I think that's why Mahomes had to scramble a lot.
I think that Super Bowl was probably the worst offensive line game I've ever seen.
Oh yeah. I think that was the year Mitchell Schwartz went out with the back injury.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I almost a whole offensive line was injured.
Yeah.
And in talking to some people throughout the week, also, Coach Whitehead brought up a good point. So if this flu bug did go around, is there a chance that, maybe Andy said, we're not at 100%, we're not feeling the best, but I shouldn't say but. With that being said, they're not at 100%. Do you think there's a chance the Chiefs didn't show much? Maybe they had a different package to kind of deal with Jamar Chase that they didn't want to kind of roll out because chances are we're going to see him again in the playoffs. Maybe this was a game of, yes, we've made adjustments to you, but we're not going to show them in, week 14 or week 15. We're going to show you in the playoffs, kind of like they did to us last year. They kind of changed things in the second half of that playoff game, and they found themselves in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs had to watch from the sidelines. So, put a positive spin on things. Maybe that's what the Chiefs did this week, was they didn't want to give away too much. I know, Jalen, you have some comments to make about our defense and what we need to improve upon, and we have the draft coming up in Kansas City. What would you like to see out of that draft?
I say, do y'all think we move on from Frank Clark? That's my question right now. And another one I had was during the 2023 draft, the one that's going to be coming up. Do you think we need to get pass rushers instead of run stoppers?
I say we do need to move on from Frank Clark. I know I was kind of being a fan of him a couple weeks ago, but I think it's time to move on. I think this 2023 draft, it's pretty deep. Maybe we can trade up. It's a tough ask, but maybe we can try and get like a Tyree Wilson. That'd be great, but I think that's a tough ask.
I feel like we need more pass rushers instead of. I know we got a bunch of run stoppers, but I feel like we need to create more pass because Chris Jones can't do it.
Chris Jones can't do it all.
Can't do it all.
Can't do it all. I saw one play; he was getting triple team. I'm like, what? I say, how is now one person getting there? He's getting triple team.
And Frank Clark is an interesting topic. I was high on him as well, Ashton. I think if there's an opportunity to go get a guy at a lesser cost, we've seen it this year with Carlos Dunlap. If we can bring him back, I think finding a combo to Frank Clark where they can kind of switch in and out, because Frank Clark doesn't have the motor to go every play and go hard every play.
That's why I wish we went to go pick up Brian Burns or got Josh Allen.
Just somebody to get back in. That way, you can tell Frank, give me all you got for second and third down. And that's all you got to worry about. I think too much is going on, and he gets gassed pretty easily. So if you can kind of pick and choose where you have him, sure, maybe we need to pay him less, but at the same time, sometimes you just have to cut your ties and move on. So we'll see what they do with that draft. I'm excited. It is in Kansas City.
Do you want to say anything? No.
Good. All right. So we have the NFL breakdown again. We're only going to cover the Chiefs game this week. I know there's a lot of games kind of scattered throughout. You guys want to jump right into our pick'em for this week? Go through it. All right. So we'll kind of do this the same way as college football. I'll start in the opposite end this time. So Chikozi's going to lead us off, and then we'll go around, say our picks. So Chikozi, the first game we have up is Vikings at the Lions. Interesting here. The Lions are favored in this game. Chikozi, who you got?
Vikings.
Ashton?
I think I'm gonna go with the Lions. I think that they beat the Vikings last year in the regular season. I think they're a better team this year. As me and Jalen's been talking about all week, they got Jameson Williams coming back.
He's back.
So we're ready to see the St. Louis guy do well.
Jalen, who you got?
I got Lions. I'm ready to see Jameson Williams get his first 100-yard season. I feel like the Vikings, they don't have really good corners. I mean, Pat Pete, he's getting old, so I feel like in the other corners they have,
Andrew Booth and Cameron Dressler.
Yeah, and Shelley, I think. Shelley. Yeah.
Just some decent. They're just decent guys, and Andrew Booth's young. And, he's still.
And another thing, DJ Chark is so underrated. I feel like he doesn't get talked about at his wide receiver spot. I feel like he's super underrated, and I see the Lions coming out with this win.
I'm going to go with the Lions as well, and I think, to your point, DJ Chark's underrated, but when's the last time you've heard anybody talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown? The dude is killing it. I mean, he's averaging almost 10 catches a week.
I think me and Jalen were talking about. I was talking to Jalen. The Lions are full of players that have the most underrated players.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, all of their guys. You talk about a team having one or two superstars and then a bunch of kind of role players. I feel like they have, 3 or 4 guys that are, a season or two away from just breakout seasons.
That wide receiver group is.
I'm going to go with the Lions. I think Jared Goff slings it around. They've got a good run duo in Swift and Williams. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Lions there. The odds makers know something if the Lions are favored in this game. I'm going to roll with them. The next game up, we'll start with Chikozi again. Eagles at Giants. Who you got? Whoa. Why?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I gotta pick the Giants. My boy Sauce Gardner, he's been doing really good for them. I mean, you can't rely on him, but I'm still going with Giants. Let's see what you guys pick.
Cozy, wrong team.
Jets.
He's
It's
on
alright.
the
It's alright.
Jets. He's on the Jets. He's on
My
the
bad.
Jets.
Jets, my bad. Sorry.
We got a lot of football going on.
Sorry. I picked the Jets. My bad.
Rookie.
Okay, wait. Let's go back there. Eagles or Giants? Who are we taking?
I'll be taking the New York Giants.
Okay, he's gonna take the New York Football Giants. Somehow, Sauce Gardner is gonna suit up in a Giants uniform.
I'm sticking to the wrong team.
He's staying with Giants. Ashton, who you got, Eagles or Giants?
I'm gonna go with the easy pick, the Eagles.
Hey, I got the Eagles. If you can't stop that duo, Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, then I don't know what else to say.
I'm gonna take the Eagles as well. I think the Giants are a couple pieces short of kind of putting together a good team. You know, they had a pretty easy schedule to start the year. I think the Eagles are going to continue to roll. They're playing well right now. Next game, we have Texans at Cowboys. Again, two kind of mismatched teams. Chicozy, who you got here?
Cowboys.
Okay.
I'll cuss you out if the Cowboys don't win.
Yeah, I got Cowboys. The Texans, yeah, I don't know.
Texans, turn off the lights, pack up your stuff. I got the Cowboys. I just think, Texans just abysmal this year.
I'd be surprised if the Texans come out with a win against the Cowboys. I'll be super surprised.
So we all think Cowboys 20 plus points? Or are we going? Well, do the Cowboys win by more than 20?
Yes.
I'd say no. I think they'll win by like 15.
15. I was gonna say that.
All right, around 15. I'm going to go in more than 20. I think somehow they're going to put up points again.
I wouldn't doubt it.
This next game is going to be interesting. Ravens at Steelers. Chicozy, who you got?
I'm just going Steelers on this one.
Lamar Jackson is out, by the way, so we're going to go Steelers.
I'm going Steelers. They're just. I think they got a lot of potential. And I think Najee Harris is playing. I don't know, but I'm gonna go Steelers.
I'm gonna go with Steelers because, like you said, Lamar Jackson's out, and I don't think Tyler Hunt. I mean, he scored the last point last week, but I feel like the Steelers just have. But I feel like they're becoming a more complete team right now.
I'm going to go against you guys. I'm going to go with the Ravens. Tyler Huntley is going to somehow win this game. Blink twice, and Tyler Huntley is going to turn into Lamar Jackson in this game somehow. I think the Ravens' defense is feisty enough to get it done. I'm going to go Ravens. Why not?
I didn't mean to say complete team, but I mean they're becoming better.
Yeah. And TJ Watt's back, so.
He's back. That is true. Next game, Browns at Bengals. Do we see a hungover Bengals team coming off what they think is a Super Bowl win over the Chiefs, or do they get it done against the Browns? Chicozy?
The Bengals are going to get it done against the Browns.
Get it done. Okay.
I'm going to go with the Browns because Jalen was informing me, my stat man was informing me that Joe Burrow's never beat the Browns.
Nope, 0-4 against the Browns.
Wow, what a stat.
And I think this is going to be the comeback game for Deshaun Watson, and the defense played amazing last week. So
is he going to get the rust all shaken off and be ready to go?
Yeah, I picked the Browns too. I feel like,
and,
I saw that stat. Joe Burrow was 0-4 against the Browns. So I was like, I'm going to take the underdog for this game.
Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt have great games.
I have the Bengals written down. That stat makes me question my pick. I'm going to stick with it just because I have it written down. I'm going to take the Bengals, but that is 0-4 against the Browns. Wow, that is very interesting.
And the Browns have the pieces to beat them, so.
They do. Next game, Jets, who do have Sauce Gardner, at the Bills. The New York Jets at the Bills. Chicozy, who do you have?
I'm going to go with New York Jets.
Jets it is.
Sure.
I'm going to go with the Bills. I just think they're the better team. And I think the Jets kind of falling off. So Bills.
I'm going to go Jets. I feel like the Jets defense is, they gave up points last week against the Vikings, but if you got Jay Jettas, what can you do? But I'm going to say I got the Jets in this one because the Jets beat the Bills by 3 points last time, so I'm going to stick with the Jets.
I'm with Ashton here. I'm going to go with the Bills. I don't think the Jets can beat Buffalo twice in one season. Weather becomes a factor in that game, maybe, with it in Buffalo. Jets aren't used to playing in okay with her, but I got the Bills in this one.
And I'm gonna say if Mike White can play like how he did against the Bears, I feel like it could be a good game.
That's two completely different defenses, though, if you think about that. Bears defense, Bills defense, look a little better.
Even without Von.
Even without Von Miller, that is interesting though.
I did
Von
s-
Miller out the rest of the season, that changes some things.
I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Greg Rousseau is also out. So that's
Interesting.
two of the best pass rushers.
And didn't they always bring Von Miller in on third downs? It was like third downs they brought him in.
yeah,
Yeah.
third and second downs were his downs.
Moving on to the next game. Interesting one here, kind of. We have Jags at Titans. Is Trevor Lawrence healthy? I know he came back in that game. That knee might be a little swollen, but I assume he plays. Chikozy, who do you have? Jags at Titans.
I'll go with the Jags.
I'm gonna go with the Titans. I just think they're a better team.
See, I wanted to go for the underdog for this game, but I might have to go with the Titans. They just came off a huge loss against the Eagles, so yeah, I'm gonna go with the Titans.
So a bounce back game for the Titans. I don't even know who I picked here. Let me take a look. I do have the Titans. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Titans.
Trevor Lawrence is expected to practice in a limited capacity on Friday. So
Okay, so maybe a little ginger on the knee.
Yeah. I think they're just
Um,
kind of taking it easy. He
yeah.
probably is gonna play.
I figure he would play. I think Derrick Henry and the Titans is just a little too much for the Jags. Although, the Jags, like we talked about in previous weeks, find ways to stay in games. And they've been doing that. So I would expect that one to be close. Our next game,
I'm surprised the Eagles held Derrick Henry to
They did.
limited rushing yards.
Limited. The next game, the Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. Patrick Mahomes is 9-0 against the Broncos. I just want to throw that out. Chikozy, are you going to pick the Broncos?
I'm gonna pick the Chiefs.
Okay, good. Good.
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Chiefs all around make it 10-0 for Mahomes against Denver. Our next game, pretty interesting here. After a late comeback, the Bucks are traveling to the 49ers, who have won, I think, 6 straight now.
Lost my
Bucks 49ers. Chikozy, who do you have? Bucks 49ers.
I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
Tom Brady's going to get it done. All right. Ashton, who do you got? Bucks 49ers.
I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
Looks like he's deep in the stats there.
After seeing last week in the 49ers stopping the Dolphins offense, one of the best offense in the league probably right now, I'm going to say the 49ers, that defense is just too good.
I'm going to go with the 49ers as well. I think the defense is, firing all cylinders, and they have so many weapons on the offensive side. And it's Brock Purdy, right, for San Francisco. This will be his first kind of full game under the helm.
Where the team is gonna prepare for him.
Didn't he do 2 touchdowns?
Well, okay, so it makes it interesting then. I didn't even consider that. Bucks have a great run defense. I'm going to stick with
And
49ers.
I was looking at the Bucks injury report. They're not missing a whole lot of guys that they had last week, or like as far as like run support, they're not missing a whole lot of guys.
I'm going to stick with the 49ers, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Bucks pull that one out. Our next game, Panthers at Seahawks. Oh, kind of an ugly game there. I have the Seahawks. Chikozy, who do you got?
I'll get the Seahawks on this one.
Seahawks.
I got Seahawks.
I think a lot of people have written the Panthers off already, and fair to say they haven't been performing this year. So Seahawks it is, clean sweep. Our Sunday night football game, and I think this one will be the game of the week. We have Dolphins versus Chargers. Two prolific offenses going against each other with some, questionable defenses. I look to see a lot of points. Chikozy, who do you have in this one?
I have the Dolphins. I don't think the Chargers are gonna stop their offense. To be honest.
Is Mike Williams back?
I don't think so.
Mike Williams.
I believe
Let me
he's
check.
still out.
I believe he is probably gonna still be out. It doesn't say anything, so I assume he's probably gonna be out. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
I have the Dolphins as well. High scoring game here. I'm looking at, let's see, like 38-31 maybe. Chargers find themselves with the ball late again and can't get it done.
I just don't trust the Chargers against good teams right now. They haven't proven.
Yep.
I feel
It
like
feels
it's
like they're.
because Justin Herbert get the ball at the last minute too.
I mean, like, yeah, they're a player too short from making things of games. In our Monday night football game, Patriots at Cardinals. a kind of a stinker of a game. I mean, both teams kind of struggling at the moment. Chicozy, who do you got? Pats at Cardinals.
Doesn't matter. I would just go Cardinals. Might as well.
I'm gonna go with the Pats.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Pats.
I think I'm going to go with Pats as well. I think Cardinals are kind of struggling.
They're terrible. I don't
They're,
know this.
is Kingsbury going to stay around, or should they get rid of him after this year?
I say give them one more year because they had a good season at the beginning last year. Then they started losing. So I say give them one more year.
I think they didn't do a great job of team building. That team's not deep.
No. And we've seen it for a couple of years here. Kingsbury is good about getting off to a hot start, and then just they fizzle out about, 5 or 6 weeks too soon, and then it's an uphill battle from there. That concludes our pick'em. That also concludes our show for this week. Again, I'm Zach Cornell.
Jalen,
Ashton.
Chigozy.
I got a question before we go.
Oh, he's got one more question. I jumped to the exit, but Jalen's got a question. Let's hear
I
it.
say for the Cardinals, I have a question about Kyler Murray. Do y'all see them getting rid of him or keeping him?
The thing with getting rid of it is who would take him? How many teams out there are gonna take his contract? And knowing that he does have some kind of has some character concerns. So I just feel like with his contract, and he hasn't necessarily played great, and he does have some injury concerns as well. So I just don't. I think he's kind of a risk for a lot of teams.
I think they'll probably get rid of him.
Interesting.
I think they'll definitely try to get rid of him. I just don't know if it will be.
I think they'll try. The only way I can see him actually out of an Arizona Cardinal uniform is if he goes and plays baseball.
I feel like it's like how they did Tyreek. They try to see what they can get. They put him like how Tyreek was. He was on the trade block. They try to see what they can get out of him. I feel like that's what they would do.
There we go. So again, thanks for joining us on the third episode of Fifth Block Sports. You can find us on YouTube. Please spread the word. We love talking about sports.
Yes,
we
we do.
hope you guys listening love listening to us. We're just a group of people having a good time, spreading some sports knowledge. So we will see you back next week for another edition of Fifth Block Sports. Thank you.